I'm done. Oh man, that was the hardest work I've ever had to do for an evening of simple fucking security. I thought I was an expert in this shit, you know? I've run security for celebrities, for politicians, fucking entitled foreign dignitaries that, the country was at war at the time. I've been on every security detail you can imagine. And I've never felt so on edge as I did tonight, I tell you. Worked security detail for 1 month once for Britney Spears when she was on her UK tour at the height of her popularity. And I thought that was a fucking nightmare. But she ain't got nothing on a load of fucking kindred Justicars. So, first off, a little bit in catch-up news. Turns out the razors are going underground. I had William Bradshaw investigating them, and it seems to me that they are disappearing off the radar. That they are changing their name, they're shutting down the gang. Don't know what the fuck that means. Means we've got them running scared? Don't think so. Don't think we've done anything to scare them. I think they're just thinking it's a clever way to avoid the blood hunt, since the blood hunt was specifically for the razors. Don't think they realise the prince isn't too picky about the name that they go by, just that those who are hunting me get killed. But we'll see. We will see what they manage to achieve. I know they're going to turn up again soon. They can't keep quiet any longer. So, with all that aside, started out the evening, proper security detail, got all my security arrangements on the ball, and we're just sitting around, we're pacing around, waiting for the arrival of the Justicars. And there's a lot of kindred wandering around asking questions, asking when they're going to turn up, and complaining about the thoroughness of my security. Some reason that Torrid or Primogen seems pissed off with me, but I really couldn't be bothered with finding out why, so I kind of just ignored him for most of the evening. I know that's not proper kindred etiquette, being he's supposedly my elder or so, but quite frankly, I'm a Primogen too, and if he's got a problem, he can talk to me about it. I ain't got time for his passive-aggressive bullshit when I've got 3 Justicars visiting. So, the evening moved on. First Justicar turn up, Tremere. Oddly personable for a Justicar. Spent his time circulating around everyone at the conclave, saying hi, how you doing, how's it going, having little chats here and there. Obviously Carla and him had some conflab, and then he chatted with the prince. And it turns out, as I overheard, being the guard on the door, the reason all these Justicars are turned up is because of Judith Roman. Judith wants the Butcher added to the red list, which is like the big kindred bad guy list for the whole of the Camarilla. And apparently adding a kindred to the red list is something that requires Justicar sign-off, which is why we have 3 of them visiting. So Judith's obviously a more scarily influential person than I had any fucking idea. She can get Justicars to come to the domain. She can make a case for someone on the red list. Fuck. There's some surprisingly influential people in this domain for someone that's supposedly an out-of-the-way backwater that nobody wants. So the Tremere Justicar sounded to me like he was convinced by the argument. He hung around for a little bit, chatted with a few people, introduced himself to me, but didn't really talk to me. That's not really surprising though, when you're just the security detail. People tend to kind of blank you out. They just see you as some kind of part of the background, some kind of piece of furniture. That's fine with me. Makes it easier to keep an eye on the security arrangements. So the Tremere Justicar arrived, chatted, and left. And then we're waiting around. And I get call up from my guys on the desk, on the front door, and apparently there's some kind of white van circling the block, and it's been around like 3 or 4 times. So I sent Ken to go investigate, because I ain't stepping out of that building for a second, man, not tonight, because there's no way I'm leaving the security of the Justicars in anyone else's fucking hands. And then Ken determines that definitely there's something suspicious about it. So I send Kincaid and Carla off to deal with it as well. And I figure I'd hear about that, something about that fairly soon, and I'm hoping, I said, you know, try and deal with it as quietly and quickly as possible, but deal with it as far away from the building as you can. Well, they dealt with it fairly quickly. Not fucking quietly, though. Apparently the entire van ended up shattered into pieces, and a load of fucking hunters with high-powered rifles came out, and Kincaid slaughtered all of them, along with a little bit of help from Ken Shikusa and Carla. So, and then the police turned up, as did the press, and Kincaid ended up on television. Apparently some sort of hero for stopping a load of terrorists. So, never saying to Bruja to do something subtle, but at least it didn't happen inside the conclave, so that was a relief. Then Mr. Snow, you know, you remember the guy from just before Christmas? Mr. Snow turns up with his Justicar, or at least I think he turns up with his Justicar, because I can't see anyone. But then I think this is the Malkavian Justicar, so I kind of just wave him in, and half of me is wondering whether there's actually, you know, like a hidden Justicar next to him, and the other half of me is wondering whether Snow actually is the Justicar and he's just got some sort of weird multiple personality disorder, and the Justicar is going to start speaking through him or something like that. You never know. Malkavians are weird. Turns out the Justicar was just obfuscated next to him the entire time. So, they have a conversation, they have a nice exchange of words. Everything seems to be going in favour of putting the Butcher on the red list. So all of this is looking pretty good. I'm still making my rounds, still keeping security tight. Getting into a pleasant conversation with our new Scourge, the Assamite. Turns out, I think I might have he's given me an interesting project to work on, actually. A mechanical, like, functional bow and arrow system that's a little more technologically advanced than just a bow and arrow. Well, that should be an interesting project. It's going to keep me going for a while. But after the Malkavian Justicar, I'm wondering who's next. What possible Justicar is going to turn up next? How's it going to get in this time, you know? Because the Tremere guy came in via helicopter. Malkavian came in the front door, obfuscated. And then the final Justicar turns up. And it's the Assamite Justicar. And he literally turns up. I don't know how, I don't know where he came in, whether he just fucking appeared in the middle of the room, teleported or some shit, you never know. Apparently, the Assamite Justicar is one of the oldest on the Justicar Council. He's like 5th generation, sometime before, you know, 300 BC or something like that. Also, it's Nosferatu Primogen from New York tells me. That's another thing. Apparently all the Nosferatu are disappearing. I mean, I just thought they disappeared anyway. But Kingpin, Dylan Matthews, all these Nosferatu that I kept meeting, don't see them anymore. And I just think, oh, you know, they just buggered off, because Nosferatu have a tendency to do that without telling you. But apparently no one's heard from them. They've all just gone. Disappeared. Well, that's suspicious, but quite frankly not my problem at that time. So, someone else is going to be investigating that, I hope. I don't like the idea of something as scary as a Nosferatu disappearing. But yeah, so this Assamite Justicar literally materialises, and you can't see his face. His hands are like jet black, like ink black, night sky black. And he's wearing this robe. Yeah, there was something about that robe. It's something... I don't know what it was. It was like a deja vu, you know? Like I'd seen it somewhere before. But I haven't. Never seen that fucking road before in my life. But you know that feeling you get sometimes? When you're like, I know that, but I don't. But there's no way I could. Because who the hell would I have seen? Maybe I saw someone wearing it at a costume party sometime. But it seemed like a little too well made to just be some kind of like cheap costume thing. Fuck, no idea. And he wanders in and he insists on going in and speaking just to the prince and Judith Roman. He kicks everyone else out, doesn't want to speak to anyone beneath his station. Makes it very clear how important he considers me. He doesn't even acknowledge me. Just ignores me like I'm a piece of the furniture. And I hear him chatting with the prince, and he really, really grills the prince and Judith about what they've done about the butcher, and why they should justify him being on the red list, and why hasn't he been blood hunted in New York, and why haven't they put a proper official blood hunt on him in New Haven. And he really seems like he's not going to be convinced no matter what. So, fuck. I hope they were able to persuade him. They sounded like they had him partly convinced. But he really didn't sound too happy. He was also pretty pissed off that none of us knelt when he turned up. So apparently he expects that. He expects everyone to kneel in reverence when he appears. But since he didn't announce himself, he didn't say who the hell he was when he turned up, just expected us to know that this thing appearing in the middle of us was a Justicar. And then doesn't tell us that we're supposed to kneel. You know, because none of the other Justicars expected us to kneel before. So we get the word around that everyone's supposed to kneel when he leaves the private room. And then he asks a weird old question. He said that a lot of people are disappearing in the prince's domain, and he tells the prince this outrightly. He says, your domain has a tendency to lose people. And he said, someone from my office has disappeared in your city. And do you know who it is? Do you know who works for the Justicar in the Justicar's office? That old Todger, Mason Guilford. You remember Mason fucking Guilford? The one who called me the bastard child of Mithras and then never spoke to me again. Supposedly my mentor, my trainer, he was going to make me into the Ventru Messiah, but then he found out that I'm a fucking mongrel and he decided that I wasn't worth his time. Apparently no one's heard from him ever since. I thought he'd just fucked off because he didn't like me anymore. Just so disgusted with this hybrid mongrel beast that I am that he just left. Turns out he's disappeared entirely. What the fuck happened to him? If the Justicar doesn't know, and he's supposed to be his guy, so he didn't even tell the Justicar where he was going. It's messed up, man. There must be something. There's got to be something in this city that's... Maybe it's the same thing as wiping out the Nosferatu. Maybe it was the same thing that was killing off the Giovanni. Maybe Mason Guilford fell foul of one of those things. Some monster. It's like ripped him apart. Pretty hardcore guy to rip apart. You'd have to have some serious strength to kill a Ventru operative like that. But yeah, hasn't heard from him. I do wonder, for some reason, the Justicar being there really stressed me out. Like guilt, like some weird sense of guilt. And I think it must have been some kind of presence thing he was doing, or some kind of mind manipulation thing, because there's nothing, I can't think of anything I'd feel guilty about. I don't even know the guy. I mean, maybe there was that whole Mason Guilford thing, but, you know, all I did was train with him for a little while. I didn't really know the guy. I didn't really have much more to do with him after that. But it was weird. Like this sort of unease, this guilt, this nausea around him. Can't place why. Can't place why. That deja vu over that robe is bugging me. Never mind. The prince seemed a little agitated by it as well, and but, you know, I think he was just at the end of his tether after 3 Justicar interviews. So he disappears, night comes to an end, and I'm able to close up shop and call it a successful night. So I'm going to have a bit of a relaxing time over the next few months. Next month, I think. I'm just going to do some work in my workshop. I've got a big project for this Assamite, this bow, these customised arrows, all these like little mechanical projects that will keep me happy. Oh, and there's some weird Morse code message that turned up out of nowhere that I should probably go and have a look at too. Apparently more information is in the middle of IKEA. Guess they like cheap Swedish furniture. Maybe they're just looking for furniture advice. I don't know. But I should probably go check it out. Probably take Ken with me. It's weird having a housemate like Ken. We're kind of chalk and cheese in the way we grew up, but, you know. And he's like 400 years old, and I'm like 40 years old. So, well, we're getting used to each other. Still can't get used to the fact that he like sleeps in dirt every night. But, you know, each to their own. So I'm going to go find some little thing upstairs. Some young hot guy. Preferably someone who's a bit drunk, because I fancy getting drunk tonight. I'm going to drag him back to my bed, and I'm just going to feed little bits off him all night until I'm completely wasted and asleep. Because I think I've fucking earned it after tonight.